Well, it's time now to review headlines on today's newspapers with the Ombudsman of This Day and Arise Media Group and This Day Newspaper Limited Group Executive Director Kayode Komolafe, who is joining us from our Abuja studios. Good morning, Mr. Komolafe.
Good morning, Oji.
I hope you have not relocated to Abuja.
Good morning,
Good morning. You have not relocated?
Not yet,
okay.
not yet, I can assure you. Not yet.
Okay, hope we'll see you in the studio next week.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
All right, we start the review of the papers with This Day on Sunday, and let's take it from the window, top to bottom. The window story says Shetima, those opposing relocation of CBN, fan departments acting as mischief makers. Relocation for the interest of the generality of Nigerians, VP insists, says Ododo will provide good governance in Kogi. And the strip story, you'll find the story on page 63 of today's This Day. AFCON 2023, Super Eagles beat Cameroon to set up quarterfinal clash with Angola. Right below the masthead, NCAA suspends Martini Airlines permit over Ibadan incident. NISIB begins investigation. And the second lead story, our policies seem difficult, but will produce positive outcomes, Tinubu assures Nigerians. Keyword there, KK, seem difficult. Maybe to many Nigerians, they are actually difficult, they do not seem. But the lead story, we mentioned it in our interview with Professor Adeniyi. Bribery allegations against Naval Chief Baseless, says Navy. Matawalle promises investigation. CNS has no business with oil bunkering contract awards. Navy clarifies. And the last story, go hard on terrorists in Plateau, other states. Lagbaja orders troops. Since it became the Chief of Defense Staff or Chief of Army Staff, this will be about the 10th time that he will be saying that go hard on terrorists in Plateau. And I think we shouldn't end this without mentioning, without having a look at the cover picture, new landlord of Lugada House, wife of the new governor of Kogi State, Mrs. Sefia Usman Ododo, of course with our governor, Ahmed Usman Ododo, and the state Chief Judge, Justice Josiah Majebi, after the swearing in of the governor in Lokoja yesterday. Ododo in as, what's his name again? The gentleman who left.
That was Yahaya.
Yahaya Bello. Those are the stories, KK, for your analysis.
How about Steve? Are you saying you have just you have forgotten the name of the former governor of Kogi State? So
there's a new sheriff in town.
I beg, you shouldn't forget so soon. Yes, the front page of This Day today is remarkably loaded with very important stories. So I just hope we can take them one after the other, quickly, so that we can cover as many grounds. First, the lead. It's a very important story. It's a story about corruption, which is an issue not just for Nigerian economy, but for Nigerian politics and society, all at once. But the story basically is this, that a group, has alleged that the chief of Naval staff, ordered the release of some oil tankers that have been detained for alleged oil theft, thereby accusing the chief of Naval staff of corruption, in the process. The Minister of State for Defense, Alhaji Matawalle, has also announced that the federal government, that is the Ministry of Defense, has ordered investigation into the allegation, which is quite appropriate. So in brief, that is the story. But there are 2 or 3 issues, emerging from that. The first thing is that, this is recurrent, that there is something recurrent, about the way this story is being told. And that is that what is the role, of the retro society in fighting corruption? Because from onset, I remember when EFCC and ICPC emerged, in 2024, there are, in 2004, sorry, in 2004, the point was always stressed then, that it is to fight corruption is not just the duty of the anti-corruption agencies, it's not just the duty of the state, but the duty of the whole society, and that is common. So if people have information about corruption, it's quite legitimate, to bring it up, as we have seen in some cases in the past. But the other side of it too is that we often forget that if false allegations or frivolous allegations are made, against public officials, in the name of fighting corruption, ultimately we may end up undermining the war against corruption, because when you damage people's reputation without any basis, in the process you may even discourage, very decent people, honest people from even aspiring to public office. So it is counterproductive. And I think that is why in the law, it is stated that while you have provisions, for the sanction, to sanction whoever has been found guilty of corruption, also there's also provision, people forget it, that there's also a provision to sanction people who make false allegations of corruption that is not proved. And the other thing to say about this too is that in the war against corruption, we should be wary of media trial. Because the whole process, if it's well audited, you discover that there have been many cases, in the last few years when you have very serious allegations of corruption against public officials. Investigations are ordered, or even the matter is even taken to court, and at the end of the day, it's proved not to be correct. But meanwhile, reputation is damaged in the process. So just as the society suffers a lot, that every expert and non-expert believes that one of the obstacles to our development, is the massive, corruption in the system. So just as we care so much, about that, we should also pay attention to the fact that false allegations should not be made against. This, about the way we handle this, because I think it's a very sensitive one, because we are talking of a service chief, the head of our Navy, and there is no way you are going to fight oil theft if your defense unit, at the sea, is not, doing this job. That is, to fight corruption, you need the Navy to perform its constitutional duty, of protecting, our maritime, Therefore, the way we approach things, we should be quite cautious, and also be disciplined, the way allegations are made against, public officers. So, as it is now, I think the correct thing to do is to wait for the investigations and the investigation that has been ordered by the federal government, and anybody who has any information, to prove, the allegation, should also make it available. But in the process, we should try to protect the reputation, of the public officer that is involved. I'm saying this, if you permit to, I'm stressing that, if you remember, about 2 years ago in this same country, the head of one of the anti-corruption agencies, was accused of heinous crimes, serious allegations, that were made, against the gentleman. A panel was set up, headed by the former president of the Court of Appeal. The panel sat actually in Aso Rock. That was the venue of the panel. People, when they the panel has submitted the report for 2 years. Nothing has been had. I don't think that is the correct way of fighting corruption. When a very important officer, you make allegations, you put his reputation at dispute, and at the end of the day, everybody, forget, who published in their headlines, the story of allegations against that particular officer, are not, do not see the story as a running story anymore. Nobody is making reference to the fact that about 2 years ago, that were made, and a panel was set up, a report was set. There's never been any white paper, published so far, on this. So I think this should, caution all sides, to the story in the way we prove them, to ensure that the truth is on earth, and if there's been, if any wrongdoing has been proved, then the law should take its course and there should be sanction. But in doing so, not people, unnecessarily. The other point, we should refer to the other story we should highlight, Steve, is the statement of the Minister of Education, that made at the Ahmadu Bello University at the weekend on behalf of the President, that reminding us that the policies, by the way, it was the convocation ceremony of that university, and the convocation lecture, remarkably, we should highlight this. The story was given by the former governor of Cross River State, Mr. Donald Duke. And I think the topic is one that should interest everybody. While addressing the graduates, the topic is, this is your time. Set forth in confidence and in haste. With haste. This is your confidence, set forth in confidence with haste. And I think that is quite a good exhortation, for the young men and women who are just going into the world. But as to the statement, made on behalf of President Tinubu by the Minister of Education, I think one point should be made that, yes, at a period like this, when households, are facing difficulty, the general society, they are feeling the pains, some of the policies being given, that exhortation might not be enough, that government officials, especially ministers, heads of agencies, should do more robust policy articulation that is actually explaining these policies, and that government officials will actually be leading in debates about this policy, Because when you set up a policy, it's just a plan, but the implementation along the line, you may face certain realities, which, will need to be discussed and see where you need to make corrections, where you need to make alignment, But what we have on display now is not a robust way of policy articulation. And I think that government officials will go beyond merely making exhortation, telling us that, okay, you are having the pain now, but the fruits, will be ripe, very soon, for us to pluck. But that we should, the government officials should encourage, very robust, very constructive, debates, on how these policies are implemented, so that there will be input of the people. And that is the whole thing about participatory, democracy. And that, and I commend some of the opposition figures in recent times have been making some statements, actually questioning, policies, asking questions, and that is the way it should be. That is the way, democracy, should be practiced. It should not just be only during the elections, that we debate about policy. Even when government is on, there should be engagement constructively, and those who are in power, should actually be seen to be taking a lead in this kind of, policy debate. And also important is the story of the departments of CBN and FAA to Lagos. I think the Vice President Shettima, has put it quite aptly, that moving, an operation, internal operational arrangement, by an agency does not constitute, a political relocation, of that department, that ministry out of the capital city, or rather, it's not. It should not be interpreted as relocating the capital from Abuja. And I think with what he has said, that should, just close the debate, because it's already an assurance that nobody is moving the capital of Nigeria from Abuja to Lagos.
Thank you for your analysis on all of those topics on this day. We shall now head over to This Day style, and the cover picture there is Hannatu Musanwa. She is the Minister of Art, Culture and Creative Economy. That headline there says, Hannatu Musanwa redefining Nigeria's creative identity. At a time when art, culture and creativity have begun to shape the very soul of nations, Nigeria stands on the cusp of a groundbreaking transformation. Leading this exciting journey is Hannatu Musanwa, a distinguished lawyer, acclaimed writer, and seasoned politician who now leads as the Federal Minister of Art, Culture, and Creative Economy. Unfortunately, we have lost Mr. Kayode Komolafe at this moment. Steve, we have Hannatu on the cover, and this day style really, put a background to her ministry here. If we have to read, the inside story there. They also wrote her appointment marks a pivotal moment. For the first time, the Nigerian government is not just acknowledging, but avidly investing in the immense potential of the creative sector. Hannatu has taken the challenge head-on and hit the ground running by releasing an 8-point agenda that boldly aspires to position Nigeria as the world's hub for creativity, culture, and entertainment. What do you make of her ministry, and what do you make of the cover at this point?
Oh, I mean, it's an important cover. She's one of the angels in Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu's cabinet, and she happens to be the first person, not just a lady, the first person that will head the newly created ministry, So that's important, and I like the fact that in spite of all the issues that she has had, I read the interview and she said one of the key things that she encountered was that there were many surprises. So I'm saying that in spite of all the issues that she has had at the beginning, she's coming out of her shell. She was at Davos, for example, preaching the vision of Destination Nigeria everywhere. So we can only wish her well and hope that she fulfills her potential as the first minister for art, culture, and creative economy.
Definitely. It's a new ministry, hopefully exciting things to come.
Absolutely.
It's nice to see women being celebrated, especially women who are part of this administration, since we've seen the opposite in recent times. So we hope to see good things from Minister.
All right, so let's look at The Guardian.
The Guardian's biggest story, Nigerians spark over Tinubu's frequent private visits to France. That is on page 4 and 5. The quote here, the president, having just returned from Christmas holidays to his home state of Lagos less than a month ago, and now awarding himself a private visit at the beginning of the year with most pending and emergent socio-economic and national security issues unresolved and seemingly unattended to. His behavior like a part-time contractor in the State House. I think this story is very important, and I think it's reiterating a lot of what Nigerians are saying. The president in one paper is saying my policies will bring good times, we're going through hard times, the security issues in the country, our financial issues in the country, and the president has gone on holiday. The president has absolutely gone on holiday. It's not a good sight for Nigerians to see. I've not gone on holiday.
Well, I mean, it's an important story, and thankfully we have KK back so that he can also make his comment. I like the fact that serious newspapers like The Guardian are focusing, not just editorializing, they are focusing on what people are saying, what their thoughts are about that. I've seen a few pictures, on social media showing the president in France watching the inauguration of the new Kogi governor, and also I think watching the Nigerian football. I mean, those things might be good for effects, for the optics, as they say. But then what actually is the kernel of this private visit? Is it for the president to go and rest? Is it to have private meetings in France? Is it a medical tourism kind of meeting? So that's part of what The Guardian is asking.
Do you want to take one more story before
so that KK can do the two together?
Quickly, the Sunday Tribune, planned relocation of CBN offices, fan HQs. The real reasons the North is fighting Tinubu revealed. That's on page 5. And a very important story here at the top, the EITI scores NNPLC high on transparency. Adowo lauds the group for a 3.4 trillion naira naira profit. That's also on page 5. Very interesting times for the NNPCL. They're being lauded for transparency. But we still have Mr. KK. If you can just quickly touch on those
take
stories.
Them all together. Sunday Vanguard says beyond Abuja, 19 states battle kidnap for ransom. That's an important issue that is affecting a lot of Nigerians. Even in Lagos, people are afraid. You are in Abuja, you know what's going on there. 19 states battling kidnap for ransom. KK, over to you, sir.
Yeah, I think let's take perhaps what to me appears to be the most important of the many important stories I've highlighted, the security one, which is the last one you have put. And I think this is a classical case of telling the security and the defense system that their job is well cut out for them, and are giving the experience of the country, in the last, let's say, in the last one decade, and the huge expectations, expected, from security and the debates, the arguments, about how to tackle the problem, I think is quite legitimate that the patience of people, is actually running out, and what will be expected is that there just has to be a very immediate, response, to tackle, this pocket of insecurity all over the place. Apart from kidnapping, you have the problem on the plateau, bantering in many states. Except just to make a point that it is not only in the northern states. I think that the phenomenon of insecurity is all over the country. Just only at the weekend there were reported cases of kidnapping on Lagos-Ibadan Express Road. Which in the last, you will say that that has, such stories, had not been heard, for quite some time. That's just to show that you have it in the southwest, in the southeast, in the south, everywhere. You may say that the incidence, is higher in one region, or location to the other. So, and in an earlier story, when we were reviewing the front page of this day, we reported the chief of army staff, General Lagwaja, giving the marching orders, to soldiers, to deal with the situation. I think apart from the army, the police, the intelligence unit, the whole, government, our security system will really have to up their ante, and give assurance to the people that, as everybody says, that the first duty, the highest expectation that any community of people will expect from a government is first and foremost, security, that government should perform that. I think is a real issue that, as we perform today, that the number one issue in this country today is that of security.
All right, KK, thank you very much for the usual Sunday turning, but I'm afraid we really have to go now. The angels will have loved to spend more time with you, but we really have to go. Thank you, KK.